There's something wrong with the house at the end of the street. We don't want to go in, but we need it back. It's special to us, and she took it. But what will happen once we open that door? What will we find, and are we ready to face it? Thank you to Shadow Cat with Red Roses YT for suggesting Stray Cat Crossing, which was released on Steam in 2015 by the developer Jetpack Gone and the artist/musician Jerlo. The artwork is hauntingly beautiful, and the game, artwork, and story are inspired by The Witch's House, Eve, Alice in Wonderland, Spirited Away, Pan's Labyrinth, and The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I can definitely see these influences throughout. The game is less horror, but more surreal and dramatic, bizarre in a way that makes you want to explore further to meet its cast of odd characters and the uncanny home they reside in. So, if you're ready, sit back, relax, get cozy, and let the nightmare begin as we take a deep dive into Stray Cat Crossing. In the beginning, we're an unnamed woman who comes across a little girl who is alone and lost near the highway. Her name is Kat, and we guide her back home, letting her borrow our scarf to keep warm. Once she's made it safely inside her home, we realize we forgot about the scarf, and it's sentimental to us, so we enter the house to find her. The house seems normal enough, except for the small child in the corner of the living room who is dressed in a hospital gown with bandages over his eyes. He wants to take our picture, and doing so acts as the save function in the game. We follow a set of footprints into the basement and are locked inside immediately. At the end of the hall is a man with a literal baby face, a literal baby, and a creature that's a cross between an angrier baby, an old man, and a bulldog. Yeah, there are weird visuals throughout this game, but according to Jerlo, this character is Babyface, whose design was inspired by Visual Kei, a genre of music from Japan that usually involves heavy makeup and theatrical costumes. In particular, Cozy, the guitarist from a band called Malice Miser, was a big influence. Babyface was originally meant to be a monster that stole people's bodies by taking over their faces. Jerlo thought if a monster like that was stuck in a room with only two bodies, it would be forced to talk with itself, alternating between the two bodies and pretending to be two people having a conversation. The rhyming and odd dialogue as Babyface continually switches bodies conveys that even if the character pretends to be two people, in the end it's still just talking to itself and scripting what both people are saying. We ask if they've seen Kat, but their dialogue is once again strange and cryptic, suggesting that perhaps these two know who we are. We then ask for a way out of the basement, and they agree to help, provided we complete a few tasks for them. For starters, they want the name of the dog-like creature before them, so we set off to complete a puzzle, get startled by the occasional jump scare, and head to the projector room, where we play a film to learn the dog's name, Faust. The film itself is interesting to think about as well, sharing some of Babyface's lore and abilities. It seems he once inhabited the body of a dog when Faust's son approached him. He then possessed the son's body and then Faust himself. Each body he possesses is unable to speak and changes dramatically, with their faces permanently being replaced and exaggerated into this angry baby face, which makes sense when you think about Jerlo's backstory about the character. The plaque on the wall tells us that Faust was a doctor who died back in 1912, and we learn later that he treated the lady of the house and has visited the garden, learning of the magical properties within. The rest of the basement floor references babies as well. Twins, actually, when you consider the first room mirrors itself with the duplicate items placed throughout. There are 3 empty cribs in one room, but 2 are pristine and new with nice mobiles hanging over them, while the third is older and appears broken with a dead bird hanging overhead. This seems to symbolize twins and a third child who either was or felt neglected. Our first jump scare is also a flashback or vision of a crib down a dark hallway. Further semblance of twins include 2 skeletal figures in the crib room, and our second task is to retrieve 2 conjoined hearts that fall from a ram's mouth on the mantle. Complete the third task by resurrecting the dead bird above the crib and teaching it the perfect song, and Babyface allows us to leave. But the hallway is now covered in holes, and as we travel further, we find ourselves somewhere else. It's a dark hallway with the crib at its end, and above it is a fetus suspended by the ceiling with its umbilical cord. They ask us why. Why did we leave them? We never got a chance to live, they say. It's your fault, you know. We're back in the basement hallway, the ground shaking as Babyface appears, his form a six-limbed, giant, monstrous baby, begging us not to leave. Getting caught would be disastrous, but making it out successfully brings us face to face with Kat once more. We also hear a voice, asking us not to forget them even if we don't like them anymore. Kat's dialogue after this suggests she is the one who we hear, but I'm not so certain.
They didn't like me anymore. Mommy was expecting them soon. The twins. So Mommy and Benny didn't need me anymore. So I left. That's why the twins are mad. The twins, Mommy, and Benny. They all died. I killed them.
That's quite the confession. Kat runs away and we're transported back outside, but we still don't have our scarf, so back in we go for another round of what the heck is going on. This time we follow new footsteps to the garden. At its center is a giant caterpillar woman wearing a no mask, which performers of this historic art form believe holds an inherent spiritual power. Now, I'm not an expert on no theater by any means, but the mask the caterpillar woman wears seems like the Fukai mask, which typically represents a middle-aged woman. Her expression is meant to symbolize maternal love, but also a woman lost in thought and great sorrow. This mask is often reserved for the roles of older women in stressful situations, or the role of a mother who has lost her child or is experiencing a separation of some kind. The caterpillar greets us as if we've been to the garden before and offers to put on the kettle for tea. We seem confused, so we ask her to identify herself, but it seems she can't remember who she is. We ask if she's seen a little girl, and the caterpillar knows of Kat, though she says she hasn't seen her since the accident. She then claims the spider has taken her baby and asks us to return her because she's so worried about her. Luckily, the spider web is nearby, and the spider... well, it's actually 4 wolves conjoined together at the waist who want to eat us now, and says something that also implies familiarity. You've got a lot of nerve showing your face around here. Each wolf is named after one of the 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. We learn they were stitched together by a sphinx, so we offer to talk to her in hopes of finding a cure, and they agree not to eat the caterpillar's baby for now. Another interaction with the caterpillar starts to hint at who she might be. All day we wait all day for Daddy to come home. Between the no mask and this statement, I believe the caterpillar is meant to represent the lady of the house, Kat's mother. And while the initial dialogue was referring to the grub the caterpillar lost, I also think it could symbolize how the seasons of the years have taken her daughter, Kat, away from her, something to file away for later. The Sphinx, of course, seems to know us too, claiming that we've returned to the garden and even comments in wonder that we can't seem to remember our previous visit. She doesn't agree to fix the wolves at first because they must pay for something horrible that they've done. But if we bring her back a red larva from the center of the hedge maze, she might reconsider. Simple enough until you run into an angry baby sphinx that hates his mom and requires a password for you to pass. One of the white larvae in the maze will give us a hint. Everyone has one, and the answer is mother. So if the basement was the physical space that centered around Kat's siblings, the twins, and the doctor that cared for the family, the garden is the physical space meant to represent her mother. I believe the Sphinx is another part of the mother's personality, the colder, more controlled, composed side, while the caterpillar and grubs are a reflection of her more compassionate side as well as her illness that Dr. Faust was treating. The grubs also seem to reflect the mother's insecurities, such as her beauty fading with age. But if the caterpillar and Sphinx both represent the mother, who is the son, the young Sphinx? We give him the password and the Sphinx son will then disappear, allowing us to find the red larva. After completing a puzzle involving water and vases, we can unlock the cage and befriend her. Taking the red larva back to the Sphinx, we pass by the caterpillar who has now been sealed away into a cocoon, a metamorphosis of some sort beginning. The Sphinx takes the red larva and consumes it, later telling us that she abandoned her own heart long ago, but her resolve must be strong. Then she apologizes to us for something before providing the scroll that should undo the wolf's curse. We return to them and they tell us they were punished because they ate the Sphinx's son, which is perhaps why he seems trapped within the maze and disappears once we give him the password. His anger toward his mother could be because she was unable to protect him. So there isn't much surprise when the scroll literally slices the wolves' bodies into 4 sections, leaving each legless. It seems the Sphinx couldn't forgive them after all. The larva is set free, and as we pass by the child with the camera, he tells us to leave now before she comes. Upon returning to the caterpillar, the cocoon has opened. We find a key inside that will allow us to leave the garden, but at the exit, the caterpillar's final form appears. She's a fly-like woman in a kimono who looks oddly similar to the Sphinx. Perhaps this is a final fusion of the two characters, both sides of the mother becoming one. The metamorphosis complete. A mother who was sometimes forgetful, cold, but also caring and concerned for her children. She calls out for Kat, saying they miss her. She then asks if we're Kat. If we say yes, she calls us a liar and says,
You think they can't see? Kat would never leave. Kat, why did you leave? They wanted to hold you. They loved you very much. Kat, where are you?
If we say no, that we're not Kat, she agrees and says we don't look like Kat at all. She exits the screen looking for Kat, and we hear the same mysterious voice from before.
Even if you look a little different, I hope that I don't look so different to you.
We look a little different, not like Kat at all. We're now back in the hallway, face to face with Kat. She reminds us to take care of the scarf because it's important, then asks us for our name. Finally, we learn our protagonist's name is also Kat, and as if the roles are reversed from the beginning of the game, little Kat offers to take us back home. She fades away and adult Kat is back outside of the house, but still without the scarf. And both young Kat and the main protagonist are one and the same, and so far it seems Kat feels guilty for her family's death and ran away as a result. The full story isn't revealed yet, but the developers are giving us tons of clues to consider as we move forward. Kat enters the house once again, this time exploring the attic. This is our third and final act. She meets a tall man in a mask that seems excited about her arrival. This mask is different from the caterpillars. I apologize in advance for the pronunciation, but it's a Korean Hahoeto mask, which are also considered spiritual and sacred, similar to the nomas in Japanese culture, but with their own unique history and significance to Korean ritual dance dramas/ceremonies. This mask appears to be the Yangban, meant to represent the aristocrat, the one with the most power, and thus the character that is often mocked the most in Hahoe special dramas to the gods. The man returns Kat's scarf to her, and a voice speaks aloud and says it's a magical scarf, and if she wears it, she'll always be safe and warm. It's something you tell a child, to give them courage and to show you care. And Kat asks, was that you who said that? The voice speaks again.
Just like when you're with your dear old Benjamin. Please, please remember.
The man then fades away, and before us are rows of coffins, each with specific names. Kendall, Penny, Crystal, Rose, Sydney, Riley, Logan, Benjamin, Sebastian, and Milton. Retrieving the Penny, Crystal, Swan, and Rose from their respective coffins, Kat then experiences the most frustrating but also most significant part of the game for me personally. It's a time loop in which each iteration involves Kat doing something slightly different to achieve new information about her past. The attic has become the entrance to a theater. The performance is also titled Stray Cat Crossing, and Kat needs a ticket to enter. Many of the characters from her journey are there waiting as well. For example, Babyface is there, and if we offer him the Crystal Swan, he'll happily accept it and give Kat a key to the ticket booth that we'll use later. The Nutcracker nearby was from the basement floor as well, and will ask for a rose to give the Sphinx, and will give us a ticket in turn. When Kat enters, however, she's directed to the stage, because this story is hers. 20 years ago, when she was only 5 years old, her mother, portrayed by a Sphinx-like caricature or two babyface babies inside of a Sphinx-like suit, reads her a bedtime story about a mother sheep and her son who was eaten by wolves, hence the fate of the son within the hedge maze. The garden manifests from Kat's childhood memory of this bedtime story and her mother, a strange amalgamation of fiction, reality, and illness. The mother sheep was sad but also relieved, and it seems perhaps this story hints at Kat's mother and her own psyche. She was a combination of the caterpillar and the Sphinx. A desire to protect her children, but also forgetfulness and even bouts of dislike or apathy stemming from her illness. During intermission, we unlock the ticket booth to find a grandfather clock and the man in the mask who we can now safely assume is Benjamin, Kat's father. He tells us the clock has been broken for 15 years, and until Kat remembers, the clock will reset, and we'll find ourselves back at the attic entrance to repeat the play over and over again. This time, Kat will decline a bedtime story, and Benjamin will enter the stage. He'll offer Kat a present. If we deny it, he'll move, telling the mother it's time to prepare Kat's room for the twins, Riley and Logan. The mother says surely he means Sydney and Kendall, and when they arrive, there might not be room for Kat anymore. I think these lines from her parents represent Kat's inner thoughts when she was a child, misinterpreting what they meant by saying there's no room in her existing bedroom for herself and the twins. Taking the statement out of context and saying that there's no room for Kat would directly contradict Benjamin if we ask for the present he's brought. It's the scarf meant to keep her warm and safe, like when she's with him. The second act of the play begins, and Kat is asked if she's excited about having little brothers. Whether she says yes or no, she's told it's only natural to feel that way, and is directed to go and tell her mother and father how she feels. At their door, she'll overhear them talking about the need to move. With the twins coming, Benjamin feels moving to the city is for the best, but Kat's mother doesn't want to leave. It seems that Kat agrees and believes her father is being selfish, which could be why he is represented with the Yangban mask. In her childlike mind, he was the one holding the power and making the final decision. If Kat asks for a bedtime story, but then declines to hear the one about the sheep and her son, we learn that Kat's mother was sick, according to Dr. Faust. Remember him from the basement. As a child, Kat thought her mother's illness was caused by her pregnancy, and one of the symptoms definitely seems to be memory loss, as evidenced by both the caterpillar's behavior and her mother repeating her question to Kat about reading a bedtime story, as if she's already forgotten that she's asked only moments before. The stress of her mother's illness, the twins' arrival, and the potential move caused her parents to argue a lot. Her mother no longer read to her at night, and her father no longer brought her presents. All of this resulted in Kat's decision to run away, feeling as if she was being forgotten. And speaking of forgotten, there's two final characters that have been locked away in Kat's memory this entire time. The boy with the bandages over his eyes. Throughout the game, he breaks character as the save function and occasionally will show his concern for Kat's safety. In this new memory, young Kat is outside, having just ran away, and the boy appears asking his dog, Wolf, Sebastian, to slow down. We learn his eyes were burned when he was younger, but apparently Dr. Faust believes he can repair his sight. He asks Kat if he can take a picture of her because once he can see again, he wants to see all the places he's been and people he's met. Making his use of pictures as save points make all the more sense. He shows Kat a picture of a literal stray cat that he and Sebastian are looking for, but tells her they should head back. It's getting late and Kat should head home too. She tells him she ran away because she believes her parents don't want her anymore, and the boy suggests maybe her parents are out looking for her now. As she says this, the stray cat appears, crossing the street toward them, and he can't help but think that Kat is a lot like the stray cat herself. Kat agrees, wondering if it too is lonely. She calls the cat over, repeating the same lines adult Kat said in the beginning of the game when she found her childlike counterpart lost. It's then, while Kat is in the middle of the road, that Sebastian warns of a car coming. It's her parents. Her father, filled with worry, is driving far too fast, and when he sees Kat standing in the middle of the road, he snatches the steering wheel, nearly avoiding her, but killing himself, her mother, the unborn twins, the boy, and Sebastian in the process. The boy then speaks, the screen once again white with black font, and we realize he was the voice speaking to Kat in the hedge maze.
Hey, Kat? Do you still remember me? You came back. I knew you would. That's why I waited. That's why we all waited. Thanks, Kat. Thanks for coming back.
The truth revealed and the play now over, Kat receives a missing gear to finally restart the grandfather clock. She returns to fix it, and Benjamin appears once again.
It wasn't your fault, Kat. We don't blame you, Kat. There are millions of daddies in the world. Millions of girls get to have a daddy's love, but only little Kat gets to have Benjamin's love. That's why I want you to call me Benjamin. Kat, you remember now, don't you?
He disappears, and many copies of young Kat take his place. They're apologizing at first, blaming themselves for the accident after running away, confessing their natural need to be noticed by their parents, to feel loved. She wanted them to come find her, to look at her. but she feels as though now they hate her for what she's done. But adult Kat sees now. They loved her very much, even on the days they might not have shown it, even when her mother's illness was at its worst. We tell young Kat that everyone, her parents, the twins, even the boy, will forgive her as long as she doesn't forget them. She returns to the attic where the boy exclaims now the clock is fixed, time is unfrozen, and the house will start to fade because after all, it's only a memory that's been waiting for Kat to return. He leads her through the house as illusions of what could have been play out. Her mother and father bringing the newborn twins home, the twins running around the kitchen with their mother and playing in the living room. The boy and Kat make it outside, but because he's also a memory, he too will fade, along with the house. He asks Kat not to forget him again, and she promises before realizing she never knew his name. Before he can tell her, though, the house and the boy fade away completely. I believe the boy's name is Milton, based on the names on each coffin in the attic. Penny, Crystal, and Rose are throwaway names used to represent the items needed to complete the puzzles, but one could be the name of her mother. I'm assuming Rose, since the Nutcracker was set on offering the Sphinx a rose and she comments that she hates roses, which could symbolize a bit of self-loathing, but that's just my guess. Then there's Benjamin, her father, and the twins' names, Kendall, Sydney, Riley, and Logan. I believe all 4 names were represented because Kat never learned which names her parents picked for the twins before they were killed. That leaves Sebastian the dog, then Milton, a name that was never referenced in the game at all. Maybe Kat overheard his name from Dr. Faust, who cared for him as well as her mother, and it too was locked away in her subconscious. The end credits roll as Kat runs down the street, passing by Babyface, the Sphinx, and the masked Benjamin, all representations of the family she lost. She slows as she arrives at the burning car from her past. This scene could represent Kat finally unlocking the darkest memory she had hoped to keep sealed away, seeing her family burn to death in the accident. However, it could also be a reminder that she'll never forget her past trauma, but perhaps she can learn to forgive herself and keep moving forward while remembering her loved ones forever. Stray Cat Crossing was a beautiful, odd, and whimsical but slightly creepy game that I really enjoyed playing. Every aspect from the artwork to the story and even the music were all lovingly created by the developers to pull us into Kat's mind and its inner workings. For instance, the perfect song that Babyface asked for in the basement is titled Dead Babe, and the sequence of notes played spell out the title. The melody in the songs Would Baby Like to Play and Rag Baby utilize the Dead Babe note sequence as well, and even within the chord, suggesting Kat's unmoving guilt over her siblings' deaths. Even the pattern in the dialogue window is based on the 1899 edition cover of The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Stetson, a novel that is unsettling in its own right with tons of theories and interpretations of the ending, but I think this subtle nod references Dr. Faust's improper care of Kat's mother, and maybe Kat's memories being locked away inside of the family home within her mind, just as the main character of The Yellow Wallpaper was locked away in the upstairs nursery of their summer mansion. And if you're ready for one of Morena's outlandish theories, maybe the reference of the yellow wallpaper hints to Kat's own psychology and methods to recover these memories. Psychology today describes dissociative amnesia as forgetting a key element of one's life, often following a traumatic event or severe stress. They may not be aware of the memory loss, and these gaps can last from a few minutes to an entire lifetime. Interestingly, there could be a genetic link for this condition, and we've seen Kat's mother display similar, though shorter, memory gaps. Back in the 80s and 90s, however, a controversial therapy called recovered memory therapy was widely practiced. Unfortunately, it utilized techniques that involved manipulating people's memories instead of uncovering the true ones, which would often hurt patients' mental health further. Similar to the rest cure described in The Yellow Wallpaper, Kat's mother, and maybe even her own care. One thing that kept standing out to me throughout the game was a clash of time periods. Adult Kat wears a tank top, jeans, and a puffer vest, suggesting she's from a more modern time. However, certain areas of the house seem to feel older. The garden, for instance, feels as if it's from a historical era of Japan. The attic's church-like corridor, stage, and toy maker hidden beneath the stage all feel very Victorian. Then within the basement, Babyface created a black and white animation with music reminiscent of the late 1920s and 30s. But most curiously, Dr. Faust is said to have died in 1912, which would be far too early for Kat to have known him. Honestly, for Dr. Faust to have not been present during the accident, he seems awfully present in Kat's memory. True, he was likely a frequent visitor as the family doctor, but maybe his involvement stems beyond that. What if Dr. Faust is treating adult Kat, and the game basically represents her mind during an intense bout of recovered memory therapy? His push and controversial practices to uncover, integrate, and help her become free from her traumatic past could actually cause these memories to become altered from his influence, with certain parts created under hypnosis and suggestion. This would explain why certain elements are bizarre, fantastical, and downright eerie as Dr. Faust leads Kat through a journey within her mind to uncover the past. So it begs the question, are Kat's memories real? I believe her trauma is real and the core story within her memories is real. However, I also think it's possible that the odder elements of the game could be the result of Dr. Faust and could hint that Kat still might have a ways to go before she can truly make peace with her past, with the help of a better therapist, of course. And again, this is just an idea I thought of after considering the potential influence of the yellow wallpaper, but all the fantastical stuff could also just be a child's imagination being remembered and processed through Kat's now adult frame of reference. Regardless, Stray Cat Crossing is absolutely an impactful, underrated game that does a wonderful job exploring grief, loss, and the malleability of memory. But as always, I want to know what you think about the ending, the story, the symbolism throughout, or whatever else you found interesting. I'll be looking for your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Here's another one of my videos. And as always, may your nightmares be strangely cozy.